Well, thank you, Tori, and good evening to everybody. What a wonderful evening. Thank you to the Marriott Hotel. Thank you to the Jane Goodall Institute, Roots and Shoots Shanghai, to Tori, to Eric, to all the wonderful staff, Zizi and all the others. Thank you to all of you for coming. And I'm going to start off as I always do, as some of you know. And if I don't start this way, people say, but Jane, why didn't you? So I'm going to start off with a greeting that you would hear if you came with me all the way to Tanzania, climbed up the hills of Gombe National Park, and hope that you would hear chimpanzees greeting the day. And to me, it's one of the most evocative sounds of the African forest. It's just, hello. So, you know, Tori, thank you for that wonderful introduction. But it didn't all begin when I first arrived in Gombe National Park in 1960. It began way before that. It began when I was a very tiny little girl growing up in England. And a little girl who, like so many other small children, loved animals. We didn't have very much money in my family. We couldn't afford a bicycle, never mind a motor car. But there was a lot of love. When I was 4.5 years old, World War II broke out. And I went with my mother and my sister. We were kind of refugees, I suppose, and we went to her mother in England, in Bournemouth, in the south of England. And so there I was, a little girl loving animals. I'm told about a story that I can't even remember, long before the war broke out, when I was just 1.5 years old. And my mother came up to my room one evening, and she found, to her horror, I'd taken a whole handful of earthworms to bed with me. And instead of saying, ugh, throw those dirty things away, she said, Jane, if you leave them here, they'll die, they need the earth. And together we took them back into the garden. Then when I was 4.5 years old, we had a wonderful treat, because we lived in London. And the only animals that I could see there, you know, we had this little shared garden, and there were some worms and insects, and there was our dog, and there were cats, and I suppose there were rats, but I don't remember seeing them in London. And sparrows and pigeons, of course. But then we had this wonderful treat. We went to a farm. And in those days, there were no cruel, intensive farms. And all the animals were out in the fields, and the hens were clucking around in the farmyard the way the hens should. And for me, this animal-loving child, for the first time I was face to face with cows and pigs and sheep and horses. And I was given a job to collect the hens' eggs. And I went round, you know, the hens kicking around in the farmyard. They were supposed to lay their eggs in these small hen houses with nest boxes around the edge. And you went round outside and you lifted up the lid of the nest box, and hopefully there was an egg inside. So I was collecting these eggs, putting them in my little basket. But apparently I kept asking everybody, but where does the egg come out of the hen? Because I couldn't see a hole as big as an egg in a hen. And clearly nobody told me to my satisfaction. So the part I remember is deciding I must find out for myself.